It's time for the Access of Easy podcast, the weekly technology digest that keeps you ahead of the curve. Brought to you by EasyDNS.com.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome back. Access of Easy number 333. This is the audio sidekick to the weekly Access of Easy newsletter where you can get all the latest in data breaching, overreaching, tech, and security. My name is Joey Len. What's going on over there, brother? How are you?
I'm okay, Joey. Still trying to get out of this deep cold over here that we're settled in Southern Ontario. But other than that, everything's all right. How about you?
Good. My wife tells me it sounds like I'm getting sick, which is great. It's the weekend coming up here. So I actually have an appointment with my GP today, my standard kind of, once yearly, once every 18 months, hold it while I cough type appointment. So maybe he'll say the same thing. I'm not sure. We'll find out, I guess. But yeah, everything's good. Everything's just rosy over here. I'm ready to talk about some of the latest and greatest. So we'll start, as we always do, with last week's quote. Do not hesitate to ask boldly for more. Who asks a king for a penny? That was by a guy named Vernon Howard. And we didn't have a winner last week, so no one got that. This week's quote, it is not the external stress that kills you or makes you stronger. It is how you react internally to the stress that kills you or makes you stronger. And if you know who that was by, you know what to do. Put it in the comments. No Googling, no cheating. Don't pervert the process, okay? Just do it the honest way. And if you win, your next renewal on EasyDNS. Can't beat that. So, Len, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stories today. Yeah. Where do you want to start? Let's hop in.
Yeah, we talk about a new cybercrime campaign that was launched a while back, and it involves a malware program, and it's called Inferno Drainer. Oh, man.
3 out of 5.
You're being very generous. I'm going to go like 0.5 to 1 at most out of 5.
We've had some terrible ones, Len, in fairness. Like, this is not as bad as some of the ones we've seen. I say, okay, 2.5 out of 5. I'll drop down to 2.5. We'll give it.
Okay, I'm not budging, man. This thing it's pathetic by our standards. But anyways, this Inferno Drainer, which has a terrible name, it sucked in over 137,000 people. And of those people, they've lost a grand total of around $87 million in digital assets. So this malware was in operation for a year, November 2022 to November 2023, and it targeted users by mimicking, one well-known exchange, Coinbase.
Crazy.
I'm sure a lot of people are aware of it. If not, you could certainly just type in Coinbase. You'll see so much about it. But also, it was mimicking other things like Seaport and Wallet Connect. These things I've never heard of. Thankfully, never heard of, and I probably will never hear of again. And the people behind Inferno Drainer, they employed a multi-pronged attack to screw over their victims. So the first one it was a phishing campaign. So they had phishing websites, and they created a vast network of over 16,000 phishing websites. And this is designed to resemble the legitimate thing. It was not really the real McCoy here. And they lured in these unsuspecting people. They connected their wallets to this, and they got rugged in the process. The second thing they did, they were spoofing Web3 protocols. Now, anybody involved with Web3 protocols, you're already 9/10 of the way there to getting rugged. So once they got in and they got spoofed from this, they connected their wallets and the malware. Well, they leveraged the Web3 protocol, the spoof Web3 protocol at that, to trick users into authorizing fraudulent transactions. And then these transactions then siphoned off the digital assets to the wallets controlled by the attackers, and away we go. But the third way they were attacking, this is ingenious. It was a malware as a service. So they were offering this as a product, allowing other people to rent this malware for a fee or a cut of the stolen profits. And I don't know, I found this to be pretty funny. This has since been taken down when talking about Inferno Malware.
Sure.
But it did a lot of damage, as a lot of people lost a crap load of money. But you know what? People are very trusting online. They're willy-nilly just clicking things and connecting their wallets. Like, come on. But anything to do with Web3, I'm just going to lay this out here. If you see something Web3, any product being offering Web3, any connection with Web3, run far away from it, because 99% this scam. It's just not worth your time to get involved. And if you are going to get involved, you might be one of these 137,000 people who just get rugged and lose a lot of lot of your fortune in the process. So yeah, stay away from this garbage, and yeah, be informed.
Most of these tokens are worth nothing anyway. Now they're actually marked to 0 on your books, thanks to the theft. 2 things I want to point out here. 1, insane how long this was running for. A full year, Len, from November 22 all the way to November 23, $87 million in quote unquote digital assets. How do I feel about that term? I don't know. But stolen from people, completely yanked, rugged, yoinked. That's a lot, and it's a long time. The second thing I'll point out is that while phishing is a common theme on this show, you know what I think is going to be more prevalent going forward, especially as more of these Web3 apps show up, these man-in-the-middle attacks, where there's like a clear sort of veneer of an app or veneer of a service put on top of what should be a legitimate service. Again, using that word loosely here in relation to Web3 applications. But these little services where you're kind of like hopping from website to website or app to app, you don't really think about it, I guess. Like, I don't know. Is this seems to me it's like akin to almost the ATM skimmers you see at gas stations or variety stores, right? This is the sort of the like I said, the veneer of legitimacy over top of a scam that's either grabbing coins or grabbing passwords or grabbing whatever. You got to be careful with this stuff. I know there's ways to verify whether the app you're using is, of sound quality on the Bitcoin side. I think about Sparrow, for example, a great wallet software that a lot of people use. Electrum, same thing. You can verify it with hashing whether or not certain, updates are legitimate. I guess the same thing doesn't exist over there, does it? Or if it does, people just don't care. It's just a bunch of degenerates, running around like chickens with their heads cut off, going from Discord chat to Discord chat, trying to grab airdrops and other garbage. This is what happens when you don't value, security, scarcity, things like that. You just wind up, with your assets marked to 0, I guess. Like, I don't know. Got to be careful of this stuff. Doesn't happen a lot in Bitcoin, but you see it every week almost on Access of Easy on other networks.
And Bitcoin are actually taking this very seriously. In fact, Bitcoin nodes, there is a new option that's going to be included in the core, Bitcoin core, moving forward. It's not yet ready for prime time. It's still experimental, but it's allowing nodes to connect to other nodes, so peer-to-peer, in a secure manner. So it's going to drastically eliminate any man-in-the-middle attacks that are being done between Bitcoin nodes right now. So they are taking this very seriously on the Bitcoin side of things, and they're trying to employ tactics to reduce that. It's still experimental right now, but you're able to enable that in your latest Bitcoin Core 26, I believe, is the last one that was enabled. So just an FYI for people out there running Bitcoin Core. Google patches coming out because there was a major alert sounded for Google Chrome users. I don't know who's using Google Chrome, but you should be staying away from that.
Not even me. I'm the local, fool when it comes to what software and hardware I use, but even I don't use Chrome. So
yeah, it's a lot of bugs in it, a lot of attacks. But anyways, there was a discovery of a critical 0-day vulnerability, and this is leaving a lot of sensitive information potentially exposed to attackers. And 0 days, they are the worst because when they are found out, obviously there's no existing patch to protect it, and protection is very limited from the onset. And this vulnerability resides in the V8 JavaScript and WebAssembly engine that's based in Chrome. And the attackers could exploit a memory access issue for nefarious purposes. And they could create a very carefully crafted HTML page, and then the hackers could then trigger a crash within the engine, and then they can enable arbitrary code to be executed. Kind of sounds like ordinals to me, the arbitrary code. But anyways, and this could gain access to your device's sensitive information. So this patch that's going to be coming out is going to be fixing not just Chrome users for Windows, but also Mac OS users and Linux. So it looks like the whole spectrum is being covered by it. So they're going to be releasing this relatively soon. It's a very serious flaw. It was released, it was reported back in January 11th, so it's very, very recent. The only thing I would suggest is if you are using Chrome, obviously update to the latest version, but you may want to look for a more hardened version of a web browser and something that is less likely to be attacked, open source. And it's, Firefox comes to mind. A lot of people use Brave. Just pick something that works for you. But I would suggest use something a little bit more hardened so you won't subject yourself to one of these attacks. Also, don't have a lot of information that's available on your devices. If you do, if something is compromised, then that information is then available to hackers. So it's up to you to take precautions and not expose your information.
I believe that EasyDNS is a product that helps with this. Domain share, right? I believe offers some assistance here. So if you're experiencing hardship, or think you might be experiencing hardship with something like this, you can reach out to Mark and the team and find out more about domain share and get help. I mean, the thing that I would keep in mind if you're the sort of average retail user is, as is mentioned in the article here, browsers like Edge and Brave and Opera have like Chromium skins. I guess that would be the term. They are Chromium skins. They're Chromium based, and so no one's really out of the woods here just because they use a different browser, except you, of course. You use some kind of deep in the woods open source. Yeah. So
but nothing's impervious to these attacks. It's just if they're smaller browsers, they're probably less likely to be attacked because the honeypot is not as big for attackers to try to gain advantage from it. So I mean, it's just like Linux. Like, who the heck's going to want to attack Linux? It's just such a small market share. What are they going to get from it? It's not that you can't attack Linux. You certainly can.
Linux users are so. I would argue you're right though. It's like not just a small market share, but that small market share of users knows enough not to put anything valuable on their hardware, right? Like they're way ahead of the curve in that sense. So even if you did find a vulnerability, you just wouldn't probably get anything. Yeah, interesting all the same. A lot of 0 days in Access of Easy the last 3-4 months. You never realize this stuff until you start doing a show like this. You don't realize how much of these or how many of these things are kind of floating around on devices that you use. So good to know. Stay on top of it. Do your updates. Be vigilant. All those things.
Well, don't you see how many updates you get? I almost on a daily basis I get on my system
on Windows.
And no, I'm running Linux, and it's almost on a daily basis. I'm getting an update on this piece of software, or that piece of software, or so. It just goes to show you, like at least on my side, there's so much development going on to try to close these holes. I don't think these are quality of life issues. It's more just security holes they're closing off with these updates more than anything. But
yeah.
It's time for you to switch, Joey. It's time for you to switch. Anyway, let's talk about OpenAI. We talk about them quite a bit, and they're the creators of ChatGPT and other powerful language models. And well, there's a debate that's been sparked up because there's a recent update to their policies, and it's surrounding the military use of the technology. And while the previous policy explicitly prohibited the models from being used for what they call weapons development, military, and warfare, the updated version does away with this, and that specific language is no longer there. So instead, OpenAI now presents what they call a universal policies, and this focuses on broader, less restrictive principles like preventing harm to others and unauthorized repurposing of their models. So this change in making their policy, they say it's more concise and avoids duplication, while emphasizing on their core values of safety and responsible AI development. But here's the problem. It seems that AI is softening their stance on military applications. And this is opening up the doors for potential partnerships between defense agencies and having them integrate into weapon systems, the AI protocols and everything like that. And this raises ethical debates. This is going to be very interesting how this comes out, how this is going to play out moving forward, because AI potentially can be used for harmful purposes. And it's not just one of just stealing somebody's information or money. That's harmful. But using it in a military application, that's taking it to a whole new level. And some people are saying this is a step in the right direction because they could use this to potentially revamp national security applications like disaster responses or cyber security defenses. Wow. And OpenAI states their mission remains focused on building safe and beneficial AI. Now, they keep saying this, they keep reiterating that's their overall mission statement here. But the reality is how it's going to be used is going to dictate how people are going to be looking at this. And if it's going to be used in military applications, I don't know. I'm not very fond of this, but this seems to be the way things are moving. I can't stop it, but I can voice my displeasure, and I think I'm going to start doing so moving forward.
These guys are on the accelerated Google curve, right? Remember when Google first came around, everyone was talking about how, they'll never do any wrong, do no harm is in there. or what was it? Do no evil or something like that was in their sort of ethos and all their handbooks and whatnot. And then over the course of about 20 years, they completely stopped. And now they're a wing of the US government. These guys are on the same curve, except it's only taken them about 6 months to get there. I've never in my life seen a company nuke more of its, sort of intrinsic value than these guys have. And don't forget, they're willing to be military pawns, it seems like, vis-a-vis this story, but you can't get the thing to write a song about Donald Trump if you tried. That's not allowed. Too much harm there. But setting up, drone swarms to bomb innocent minorities half across the globe, no problem. So poem, no. Song, no. But mass murder, drone swarms, yes, no problem. Military applications, yes, no problem. I don't know, by the way, of any military applications that quote unquote do no harm. So I don't know. Maybe are we entering a new age of military, Len, where it's all just like confetti and gifts dropping from these drone swarms, dropping from AI governed machines, monitoring the skies, monitoring the land and sea? Is that it? I wouldn't mind a couple of gifts. I mean, I hope I don't see a drone swarm in Canada, but I'll take it if it's confetti and gifts.
Don't accept those gifts, Joey. You don't know what's inside them, right? It's opening up a can of worms, and you're just going to be worse off in the end.
I love it.
Got some news down south that Senators Ron Wyden and Cynthia Lummis, they have demanded an investigation into the SEC. This is following a hack in the agency's Twitter account. And we talked about this at length in Axis of Easy 332. This hack occurred around the same time as a significant spike in the price of Bitcoin. So it's obvious to anybody with a brain that these two stories are linked together, the SEC's hack and the price of Bitcoin going up during that brief moment. Wyden and Lummis expressed worry that the hack could have been used to spread misinformation or manipulate the financial markets. We talked about this at length last week, both on the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast, but also on the Axis of Easy 332. They both pointed out to the SEC's history of cybersecurity vulnerabilities. And this also includes a 2017 incident where hackers gained access to the agency's non-public data. And this is evidence that the agency needs to take cybersecurity more seriously. And the senators are also criticizing the SEC for its lack of transparency surrounding the hack. And we both hypothesized why this is. You were saying that it was a scheduled tweet that may have been sent too early, and who the heck knows what it really is, but there's a lot of questions that remain unanswered to this date. And they note that the agency has not provided any details. So this was done, like almost 2 weeks ago now? I can't even remember when it was.
2 weeks-ish.
Yeah. And still nothing. We still are waiting for something. So yeah, there's definitely some lack of transparency for the governing body that administers our financials on the market. So if you're talking about investing any money, the SEC is the one that's pulling the strings, and for them not to provide any information, that's troubling. So the senators, they're demanding that the SEC take matters and take these things seriously, because obviously a hack or doing an unscheduled tweet early is something that is very concerning. What else are they going to be doing? The Twitter account is a forward-facing unit that's from the SEC, and if they're not monitoring this correctly, if they're not using this in a correct manner, what else are they doing behind closed doors? Very scary stuff. Again, this is more reason why I Bitcoin and I stay the heck away from the markets.
I just laugh when I see stuff like this. It was clearly a scheduled tweet. Okay, hackers do not, in my opinion anyway, go to these accounts and prepare, because you have to figure you don't have that much time. If I had to guess. Other thing, then, Twitter, X, whatever, conducted its own quote unquote investigation and released the findings and just said that there was no 2FA enabled on the account. Didn't say that this tweet wasn't scheduled. Didn't say that there was any, malfeasance with the content of the tweet. Just said that they had no 2FA, and that's how the guy got in. It'd be pretty easy to see if the tweet was scheduled. I think all you'd have to do is look at the SEC's payroll and see, do they have a social media manager, or are they kind of just flying by the seat of their pants when it comes to the stuff they tweet? Do they tweet ad hoc, as required, instead of having a guy running the account on the phone all day? I don't know, but if they don't have a guy running the account, then you can presume it was scheduled. I think the funniest thing here is listening to, as much as I like Wyden and Lummis, and this goes for the AI thing too. We have these sort of modern day philosophers, guys like Schumer and Maxine Waters and Lummis and Wyden. Like, these guys don't know anything about digital security. Nothing. They don't know anything about it. They don't know anything about the way that some of these ecosystems work and 2FA works and the digital key fob that is your authenticator app works. They don't know anything. They're calling for investigations and the stuff that they have no idea about. I'm a Lummis fan because of the Bitcoin thing, and I know a Wyden fan too, I guess indirectly. I know he's been on some Bitcoin stuff too, but I just don't think these people have any reason to involve themselves in this. It'd be better, honestly, if Twitter just did the investigation and released its findings. They won't, obviously, because it's probably some kind of national security issue, fake or actual. But yeah, I mean, to your point about the SEC supposed to be sort of the governing body that prevents us from market manipulation. How's that going? What was that candle like? I've never seen a spike and drop like that, basically since I don't know, maybe since Tesla bought Bitcoin in 2021. That was a heck of a whiplash, up from 45 to 48 and then down under 45, I think, to 44 or 43. Obviously higher than we are now. I would like that price action back. But
April
that's to say that if you were, so there you go. So if you were,
that was a different time. But April 2022 was the one I noticed the most volatility with Bitcoin, where the spread between the buys and the sells were upwards of $1,000, and the candle was moving. It was an incredible time to watch live.
So the point is that, like, Bitcoin is famously volatile, and you get comments from guys like Gensler saying, "Oh, the volatility is something investors need to be protected from." Well, you sort of dropped the ball here, didn't you, Gary? So keep it to yourself until you figure out what's going on in your own house. The call is coming from inside the house, Gary, when it comes to volatility. So figure that out.
Remember Lummis, she lost the shine because I think she was part of introducing a bill. I can't remember the specifics of it.
She was crypto friendly in a bill that she introduced, and also I think surveillance maybe was part of that. I forget now.
That's exactly where I was going to go. Yeah, and so a lot of what she did, unfortunately, the credibility in my eyes, it's lost. And she was, I was a big fan of her right up until that moment, and then she became just another person that
I mean, isn't every elected official just tentacles of the same octopus? Doesn't matter what stripe at this point. This is not a political show, but if you're counting on politicians to get you out of whatever problems you're experiencing as a citizen in a democracy, good luck. It's not going to happen for you, especially not now.
El Salvador, their president, for whatever reason, seems to be doing I would say the right thing with respect to Bitcoin. They could have done so many opportunities to shitcoin, like introduce something like the Miami coin. Remember, they never done this. They just, all they do is just buy, and you could discuss his policies all you want, but with respect to Bitcoin, he's been pretty good.
He's done fine, but let me know when there's real power looking to corrupt in that country, as opposed to just gang wars.
That's fine. Yeah.
Then we'll talk about whether or not that guy was really a success. Right now, he's buoyed by a lot of positive stories because there was really no place for that country to go but up from where they were, and he's done it. He's done a good job. I don't want to take credit away from him, but let's see when real money and real covert operators enter the picture in El Salvador, and he's able to sustain his path, then I'll give him his flowers. But until then, he's just another guy, just another Bitcoiner. That's all.
Yeah. Let's do the last story, and the U.S. Secret Service. I don't know why they're involved in this one, but there's this new devious phishing tactic, always phishing stuff, and it involves fake antivirus renewals. Who the heck's using antivirus these days? Anyways, scammers are using scare tactics to dupe victims into granting remote access to their computers. And once they have access, they steal money directly from the victim's bank account. I'm willing to bet that these people that are falling for these tactics are all born in the 1950s or earlier. In fact, why not? In fact, there was a specific victim that was tricked into believing they received a $34,000 refund from Norton. However, the actual transfer was to the victim's savings, from the victim's savings account to one of these perpetrators, the people trying to hack into it. So yeah, like, who the heck would do this? You got to be kind of technically, you just don't know much about computers, or you're just not very bright. Maybe the both. Anyways, the U.S. Secret Service, they're currently trying to work to recover some of these funds. But the question I have is, why is the U.S. Secret Service on this case? Is there one particular reason? Was it a family member of a prominent individual that was impacted from this? Does the FBI not have something to, or they're too busy right now? They have to enlist another federal agency to take care of it. I don't know. There's a lot of questions here. I just don't know the answers to this. But all I gotta say is, man, stay away from these antivirus programs. All they're gonna do is just get you rugged one way or another. And here's another example. It does more harm than good. Listen to McAfee. He was right.
Most operating systems now come with their own sort of baked-in antivirus software, do they not? Like I know Defender on Windows is pretty good. I've used Kaspersky free, which is fine for most people. Like at the end of the day, the story is always the same. Anytime anyone asks for access to your computer, you say no, unless it's your brother or your father or your mother or your you know, whatever. You say no otherwise. Anyone asks you for your bank account information, you say no. Anyone asks you to refund something that went to your bank account, you say no. Everything, the default answer is always, always, always no. I mean, you and me know that, but maybe to your point earlier, it's the folks who were around when jukeboxes were the dominant form of entertainment in bars and pubs. Maybe the problem is them. I don't know. I hate to pin the blame on those people because there's a lot of bad actors who are obviously like seeking them out, but this is an easy one, like $34,000.
So if you got a $34,000 refund,
yeah, it was yanked from the guy's. So the green screen, I guess the problem was that there was like a green screen overlay or a blue screen overlay, and this guy actually pulled $34K from buddy's money market fund. So like, how's that? You know, you really you not only do you give the guy access to your computer, but you leave open your like all your banking info. You know, like shit, man. That's I don't want to say you're asking for it, but that's about as close as you get to asking for it, isn't it? I feel for the guy, but didn't really do yourself any favors.
You know, we are a society that is very trusting with our financial stuff. We pawn off a lot of the responsibilities to other entities like banks and so forth. And so we don't think much of it. And until we take onus of our property, start take ownership of our property and manage it, there's going to be a lot more stories like that. And once you actually control it, you like, for example, Bitcoin, and you control your money, you'll be very leery about anybody trying to access anything at that point.
Yeah, totally agree.
We, you know, this is just unfortunately a product of the last 50 years or so, where we're just more trusting of, well, actually more than 50 years.
Don't you think we're getting away from the trusting though? Like whenever I talk to people now, again, this is people my age, even your age, me and you are about 10 years apart. Like I don't think almost anybody I know at this point would count themselves among this population that's like, okay, someone needs access to my computer. It's the Norton antivirus team. I'll give it to them. I don't know anyone who would do that. Do you know anyone who would do that? Really?
No,
yeah,
number one, I don't know anybody uses antivirus, but you're right. Like, why would you? And you get some refund from that. Like, you got to be, you know, like you say, when you grew up, jukeboxes was the thing you use when you're going to the bars and stuff like that. But you got to be like really technically unsavvy to do that, or slow,
or maybe you just don't have time to look into this stuff. Like, I don't know.
Oh no, come on. No.
I don't know, man. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to give these people the benefit of the doubt, but you know, we'll see how this goes. I guess the guy's being charged with money laundering or sorry, wire fraud now. So whatever, we'll find out. Anyway, that's it for Access of Easy this week. Don't forget, sign up, accessofeasy.com. You can get the newsletter, you can get the podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, or on YouTube. Come watch us. We've been recording on Fridays instead of Thursdays recently, which I got to say, Len, I've enjoyed. But if you have any questions, comments, hit us up. You can find us on Twitter. You can find Mark on easydns.com. And until next time, friends, take care of yourself.
Yeah, take care.